Hello everybody and welcome. My name is The Shy Hat and we're doing HackerFrogs today. We're doing HackerFrogs free hack today on this Friday evening. Alright, so what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be continuing our journey into the Hack the Box beginners boxes. Which is part of their starting point series of boxes, as we can see over here. Last week we began with Tier 1 over here. The Tier 1 machines over here were a little bit more difficult than the machines over at the Tier 0, at the Tier 0 tier, rather. And but we learned a lot about doing some more advanced network pen testing. All right, and we were able to use some of the common tools that we use when we do these kind of CTF exercises. All right, we're going to be doing more of that this week. But if you are feeling a little bit lost, I'd like to point out that this series has been going on for about a couple of weeks now, and on our YouTube page you can see the previous YouTube lives, and if you wanted to take a look at where we started with this, that would have been about 2 weeks ago, and this is the video that you would want to watch. So this is the video that outlines how to install VirtualBox on your system, as well as creating a Kali Linux virtual machine. So if anybody wants to access that video, I'm leaving the link in chat right now, and you can go and look at that if you're feeling a little bit lost, or if you wanted to take a look at what the beginning of this series looks like. All right, so we're going to be doing 2 boxes today on Hack the Box. It's going to be Responder over here, as well as the 3 box over here. All right, so what we need to do first is we need to connect to the VPN. So since we're using Kali Linux to connect to Hack the Box, we're going to have to connect we're going to have to create a VPN connection. So we also talked about how to download the OpenVPN file in our very first session in this series. You can take a look at the link in the chat for those details. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our terminal inside of Kali Linux, and inside the terminal, inside the terminal we're going to do the following command. It's going to be sudo and then OpenVPN. In our case, we put the OpenVPN file, the OpenVPN key, inside of our root directory. So we want to make sure that it's nice and secure, so we put it in the root directory. As well, we need to use sudo. We need to use sudo to run this file anyways, so this is what we do. So we run this, and we're going to input our password for Kali Linux, and that's going to start the VPN connection to the Hack the Box network. So we'll know that our VPN connection to the Hack the Box network has been established, because when we go back to the web page and we reload it, we will see that the button over here is green and it says starting point. So this is the link you should be using if you're following along with us today. And if you're following along with us using Kali Linux, please type Kali Linux in the chat. Otherwise, if you're trying to follow along with these exercises using the Hack the Box Pwn box, which comes with about 2 hours of free time if you're working from a free account, please type Pwn box in the chat. All right, so now that our Notes by Nisha, welcome. Okay, Notes by Nisha is using Kali Linux, and that is nice to see. Nice to see. Thank you very much. All right, so after we've connected to our starting point, we're going to be accessing the tier one of the starting point, and under tier 1, we've already completed the first 3 of these boxes. If you want to take a look at our walkthrough for those 3 machines, you can take a look at the YouTube live from about a week ago on Friday. That's when we covered those. Today we're going to be covering this machine right here, Responder, as well as this other one over here labeled 3. So we're going to open up the Responder tab over here. And we're going to start up the machine over here. What we need to do is click on Spawn Machine. I'm going to apologize on behalf of Hack the Box. Sometimes spawning the machine can be a bit iffy, but they do provide these machines for us to hack for free, so I won't complain too much. So click on the Spawn Machine button over here, and it's going to say Creating Instance. So it's going to take about a minute or so for this thing to fully deploy, and when it's deployed, you'll see the IP address of the machine appear over here. So while we're waiting for that, let's take a look at what we're going to be learning, some of the things we're going to be encountering in this box. So we're going to deal with WinRM, which is a protocol for logging into Windows machines. We're going to take a look at custom applications. We're going to talk about protocols. Apparently, we're going to deal with the XAMPP stack, which is a certain software stack that is being implemented on the Windows web server. We're going to be talking about SMB, which is another file share protocol that is specific to Windows. We're going to be talking about Responder, which is a common way that network penetration testers use to capture credentials on Windows machines. We're going to be talking about PHP, which is a popular programming language for websites, and we're going to be talking about reconnaissance. So we're going to be talking about some reconnaissance, scoping out what's in the environment. We're going to be doing some password cracking, some hash capture, some remote file inclusion, and some remote code execution. So that's a lot of stuff to cover in one box. It's going to take a little while to work through this system, but we'll try to work through it as quickly as possible because we don't want to stay here all day. Although, if you have any questions about anything we're doing while we're doing it, please type the question in chat. Questions or comments are always welcome, and we're here to learn, and hopefully we can learn together. All right, so this is taking a little bit longer than usual. I'm going to give it about a minute more, and if the IP address doesn't appear, I'm going to refresh the page. But while we're waiting, everybody in chat, please say hi, and please say if you are following along with us in solving these boxes today, and if you're not, please tell us that you're just watching today. Either way, it's fine. I just wanted to see everybody in chat say hello. Notes by Nisha in particular, I'd like to ask you, have you solved boxes on Hack the Box before? Are you a regular user of Hack the Box? All right, so this doesn't seem to be responding. I'm going to reload the page. Okay, now I'm going to have to respawn the machine again. Notes by Nisha says, yes, I am a user on Hack the Box, but I'm still new at it. I am following along. That's great to see. That's great to see. Hopefully, if at any point you get stuck while you're following along, please tell me, and we'll try to solve your issues. But hopefully, no issues arise, and everything is just fine. So one thing about Hack the Box is that sometimes, Notes by Nisha is also currently studying for the EJPT exam. If they haven't changed it, the EJPT exam is a pretty fun exam to work through. If it's the same exam that I worked through. You're talking about EJPT by eLearn Security, are you not? Because I do have my EJPT certification, and it was a pretty fun time, if I do say so myself. All right, so we have our target IP address right here. We can copy it by clicking on it, and that's going to copy it to our clipboard. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run a ping command against this IP address to make sure that we can communicate with it. All right, so I'm going to switch tabs over here. So one thing about Kali Linux is that inside of your terminal here, you can click on File and you can add new tabs to the terminal, just like in a web browser. And we're going to be doing this several times today, because we're going to be working in a few different terminals to run our programs. All right, so the command is ping C4 for 4 pings, and we're going to run it against this IP address right here. So we're going to run it, and we're going to receive 4 pings, and it says 4 packets transmitted, 2 received, 50% packet loss. So we were able to contact the machine, but we dropped a couple of packets. That's okay, as long as we don't have other spotty transmission to the IP address. One thing I'd like to note right here is that when we sent the ping packets over here, the ping packets returned to us with the TTL, time to live value, of 127. So when ping packets return to you with a time to live value of 127 or 128, that's usually a sign that it's a Windows host that you're contacting. That's kind of it's a little trick to determine what kind of server that you're dealing with. If the time to live is 64 or 65, that usually indicates that it's a Linux host that you're contacting. Okay, so now that we know that we can communicate with the server, let's run our nmap scan to determine which open ports are available on the system. So I like to run nmap with nmap -vv for very verbose, and -p- to scan all the ports, and then -t4 to run it with the speed setting number 4, which is very fast, but not the fastest one. And then, of course, we have to include the IP address. And with that, we're going to run our nmap scan to determine which open ports are available on the system. So we notice immediately that there's port 80 available on the system. So the great thing about running nmap with the -vv flag over here is that it's going to give you results right away, as opposed to running it without the verbose flag, which is only going to give you output when the entire scan is done. All right, so while that's running, we're going to open up another tab. And in this tab, let me take a look at my notes. Okay, so in this tab, we're going to run a Nikto scan. So Nikto is a web app vulnerability scanner, and we run Nikto against a target to determine what kind of common web app vulnerabilities a web server might have. And we're running this because we noticed that that port 80 was open, and port 80 is usually associated with HTTP servers, web servers, that is. So we're going to run this, and this is going to give us some information about the web server, or if there are any web app vulnerabilities associated with the web server. All right, so let's go back to our nmap scan to see if there's any other output. So we also discovered port 7680. 7680. I'm not too sure what's on port 7680, but we can always scan this. We can always scan this port after we've done our initial scan to get all the open ports. What I like to do with nmap is I like to scan twice with nmap. The first one is going to scan all ports just to determine which ports are open, and then the second nmap scan is going to run against the specific ports to find out what is running on those ports. Okay, so the other thing we can do is we can go back. We can go and we can open a web page to the IP address that we have. So I'm going to access this from my Kali Linux Firefox server. So it's going to HTTP this IP address right here. And it says we're having trouble finding that site. But we can also see that, that the URL was redirected over to this domain right here, unica.htb. So what we can do is we can take that hint and we can add this. You can add this domain to our etc host file, so that we can resolve DNS to this particular domain. So what does that mean, and how do we do it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this domain right here. So unica.htb. And then I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to open a new tab. Particle to do. Hello. We're working on Hack the Box Responder right now. So if you want to join in, go ahead and log into Hack the Box and go to the starting point, and the responder box is going to be under the tier 1 of the starting boxes. So now that we have that domain that we can add to our etc host file. So what you want to do is do sudo nano etc hosts. Oh, Particle to do has already done this box. Well, I hope you had fun, and maybe you can watch just to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. All right, so we're going to we're going to sudo into this nano right here. And right here, we can add this unica.htb to our etc host file. We also need to grab the IP address for this. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to grab the IP address. And then Particle Dude says, yes, it was fun. Yeah, this box has a lot of things to teach. And there's a lot of fun things you can do with this box. Okay, so now inside of the etc host file, we've added the IP address along with the domain over here. So unica.htb. All right, so that with that done, we're going to exit out of here and save it. So every time we type unica.htb, it's going to resolve to the IP address we have for this box. All right, so Nikto isn't done running. That's fine. But we did get our Nmap scan back. So we scanned all the ports over here, and we determined that 3 ports were open. So we've got port 80, which is running HTTP. We've got 5985, which is running WSMAN. And this port right here is associated with the WinRM protocol, which is used to remotely log into Windows systems. And we also have this Pando pub right here. So I'm going to tell you now that the service on this port is not very relevant to solving this box. So we're going to ignore it for now. But what we can do is we can run this command again. So we're going to run nmap again, but we're going to specify the ports. So it's port 80 and port 5985 and port 7680. Okay, and we're going to add 2 more. We're going to add dash S capital V to get the version information for whatever services we find. And we're going to add the dash S capital C to run standard scripts against any services that we find. All right, so we're going to run that again, and we're actually going to redirect that into nmap2.txt so that we can keep this around just in case we need to look at it later. Okay, so we're going to run this. But in the meantime, we can take a look at the web page. Right here it says server not found, but now that we've added this to our etc host file, we should be able to access it. Okay, something's loading up. All right, so it looks like a website for web design. Okay, so let's take a look at these different pages. So one thing that I like to do when I come across a new web app is I like to search around for all the different pages inside of the web app. So we can click around to these different sections. Okay, so we've got a bunch of different sections on this website. It looks pretty fancy. Okay, we even have a web form right here, and we also have a web page that lets us switch languages over here. So an interesting thing to note inside of this section, which switches languages, is that there's a URL parameter that's passed inside of that's passed when we attempt to change the language. So if we go from French to German, for instance, whoops. Okay, so to German over here, we see that an exact file is referenced inside the URL parameter. So this usually indicates that that the page might be vulnerable to local file inclusion, the LFI vulnerability, which is a web app vulnerability where we're able to view files on the underlying server from the web app. So what we can do is we can test our hypothesis for local file inclusion by sending a common local file inclusion string. So since we're dealing with the Windows target instead of a Linux target, we have to send a local file inclusion test string that targets Windows and not Linux. So let me demonstrate over here. So what we're going to do is, instead of page equals German.html, we're going to try to escape the web app directory and go up back to the top of the file tree with these dot slashes right here. So dot slash is a command inside the operating system, which tells the operating system to go up a level. And after we think we've gone up to the exact top of the file system, we're going to go to a common directory. So in this case, it's going to be Windows System32 drivers etc. hosts. So this is the etc. host file that we modified on our Kali Linux system, except that it's this is the Windows version. So we're going to try to access this from the web page. So because we get output back from this command right here, this is an indication that that this web app is vulnerable to local file inclusion. So what can we do with this? What we can do is we can try to access other files on the system, and by enumerating those files, we can try to find a way into the system over here. This file in particular doesn't have any special value to us as far as trying to get into the system is concerned. Let me take a look at my notes just a second. Okay, so one thing we can try to do now that we know that there's local file inclusion on the system is, and we know that this particular web app is running PHP, is that we can try to read the PHP configuration file. And because we know that this web app is running a XAMPP stack, XAMPP, I'm not too sure what the technologies are in the XAMPP stack, but we can ask ChatGPT what. I guess I'm going to have to log in again. Hold on. Let me log in, ChatGPT. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to just Google it. What is the XAMPP stack? Okay, so XAMPP is a free and open source cross-platform web server solution stack package for all sorts of operating systems like Linux and Windows. It has many essential modules like PHP, MyAdmin, OpenSSL, Media, Wiki, WordPress, Joomla, and more. So we know that that this web app is running XAMPP because we're kind of cheating. We saw this as one of the tags inside of this challenge over here. All right, so that aside, we're going to try to read the PHP configuration file. All right, so the PHP configuration file on your standard XAMPP stack is going to be at the following address. It's going to be XAMPP/PHP/PHP.ini. So this is the configuration file. We're going to try to read it using local file inclusion. Okay, and then we get this error right here. So parse error, syntax error, unexpected token, and expecting end of file in C XAMPP PHP PHP.ini on line 189. So what does this error mean? What this error means is that is that the PHP engine on this web server was trying to read this file as a PHP file. And since this is not a PHP file, it's an INI file, it wasn't able to read it. So what we can actually do is we can try to get PHP to turn this file into base64 encoded data. And the way we do that, so okay, let me explain. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this page over here to PHP to this right here, PHP ://filter/ read equals convert.base64 encode / resource, and then we point it at the file that we're trying to read, which is located in c/zamp/php/php.ini. So what this is doing is it's forcing the PHP engine to turn this file's contents into base64 encoded information. So we can run this, and PHP is going to turn the configuration file, the content of the configuration file, into this base64 encoded string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything. So I think there's something called select all, and then we're going to decode this from base64 encoded data back into the regular text. I'm going to use a website to do this, a web app. So base64 encode, base64 decode, base64decode.org or .com, one of these. Okay. So on this web app, we can paste whatever we want right here, and it's going to decode this from base64 and turn it back into whatever it was. Okay, so that, apparently I didn't copy that. Let me copy this. Okay, so all of this base64 encoded information, we're going to hit the decode button, and it's going to turn to this. I'm going to copy all of this over here, and then I'm going to select all of it, and then I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to turn it into a file. I'm going to nano, and I'm going to call this php.ini. Maybe I'll call php2.ini because I might have this, actually I don't have the file in here, so php.ini, and then I'm going to create this file, and I'm going to paste in everything over here. So the entire contents of this file have been pasted in. It's a pretty big file. Okay, and then we're going to save this out. So we're going to save the modified buffer. Okay. So one thing that we're going to do is we're going to check for one particular setting inside of the php.ini file. So we're going to cat php.ini, and then we're going to pipe that into grep, and we're going to look for, let me take a look. We're going to look for allow URL include. Okay, so we're going to run this. So among all the PHP configuration settings inside of the php.ini file, we see that allow this setting right here, allow URL include, is set to off. So what does this mean? So this option lets PHP interpret HTTP files and FTP URLs inside of the engine. So because it's set to off, we're not going to be able to perform any kind of remote file inclusion. which is the other half of local file inclusion. If local file inclusion lets you read local files on the file system, remote file inclusion lets the web app run files that are not on the file system. And remote file inclusion would let us do attacks such as running arbitrary file execution using any file that we send it. So we're not able to do that using HTTP or FTP protocols. But one thing that we can, but the thing is that URL include doesn't cover another protocol that is common to Windows systems, which is the SMB protocol. So we're going to use the SMB protocol to run a file of our choice on the system. And the file that we're going to be running is the Python responder tool, which network penetration testers use to trick Windows systems into giving up NTLM password hashes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this tool to steal password hashes from the system. Okay, so the responder tool uses the SMB protocol, which is neither the HTTP or FTP protocol, which means that this particular setting inside of PHP isn't going to block it. So we're going to run responder on the same interface as our machine is on, our Kali Linux, what is it called? VPN connection, as well as on the target machine, which is also on the HackerFrogs network. So the HackerFrogs, the target machine is this IP address on the HackerFrogs network, and our machine is also on the HackerFrogs network, and we're going to use the responder tool to steal the password hashes from this machine right here. Okay, so let's set that up. The first thing we need to do is we need to run the responder tool, which is this command right here. If you're using Kali Linux, responder should be pre-installed on the system, and this is the command that's going to start up the responder on the TUN0 interface. The TUN0 interface is the network interface which has your VPN tunnel and is the one that you're using to access HackerFrogs. So we're going to run this command, and we're going to supply our password because responder has to be run as root, so we have to use sudo to run it. And this is going to start up our responder, which is listening for incoming connections. So we can see here that it's running a bunch of different protocols. It's running HTTP, HTTPS, and SMB. It's running a bunch of different protocols. This is the one that we're going to use to steal the password hashes, the SMB protocol. Okay, and how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by sending an SMB request over to the web app over here. So we can go back over here, and we're going to send another custom URL to the machine, and we're going to be sending this one right here, and this one is going to be, it has to be our IP address. Okay, so first of all, we need to get our IP address, and we can do that by going over to one of our tabs, and we're going to use the ifconfig command, and the ifconfig command is going to give us our URL, our IP address for each of our network interfaces. We want the one for the TUN0 interface because this is the one that is attached to the to the Hack the Box network. So for me, it's going to be this IP address right here. For you, it's probably going to be a different one. What you want to do is you want to copy this and Control-Shift-C to copy it. And then we're going to go back to our web app over here. So it's going to be page equals / and then your IP address, paste it in. And then we're going to, it can be, this next thing after the slash can be anything. We can just give it test. And what this is going to do is this is going to send an SMB request. This is going to send an SMB request over to the web app, and that's going to be passed over to the server. And it's basically going to ask, does anybody know where this file is? Does anybody know what this file is? And then what the Windows server is going to do is it's going to respond via SMB, and it's going to include all of the logged in users' SMB information, the NTLM hashes and all that stuff, along with the response. So we're going to send this to the server. And it says permission denied, okay, but we go over to the responder and we're going to look over at responder, and responder has received a response from our target URL over here, and the username is administrator. Okay, so the administrator is logged in, and the administrator's credentials, NTLM hash, is over here. And what we can do is we can crack this administrator's hash, and then we can try to log into the system using the administrator's cracked password. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to copy the entire NTLM hash over here. So select the entire hash and then copy it, Control-Shift-C, and then we're going to go over to another tab, and we're going to nano. We're going to nano admin.hash, and then we're going to paste in the hash. So it's Control-Shift-V to paste it in. All right, we're going to save this file, and we're going to, so after we've saved this file, we see the files in here, admin.hash with the value of the administrator hash. And now we can try to crack the file, to crack the hash. And we're going to use John the Ripper. It's a password cracking program to crack this hash. So we're going to give this command right here. It's going to be John, and then it's going to use a word list, and the word list in this case, let's see, not backup.hash, it's going to be admin.hash. So we have to give a word list to John the Ripper, and in this case we're going to give it the rockyou.txt password list. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to compare the admin password hash against all the passwords in the rockyou.txt password list. Okay. If you need to run this particular command, I'm going to paste this into the chat, so you all can try to use this. Of course, you might have to adjust the name of the file that you created. Likewise, if there are any commands that I used inside the terminal that you want me to clarify on, please tell me, and I'll try to accommodate you. Okay, so we're gonna run this against the password hash, and then we immediately get a response over here. So it turns out that the administrator user's password is this right here, badminton. Okay, so badminton is the password. Since we have the administrator's password, what we can do is we can use the evil WinRM tool to log in using the WinRM protocol. So if you recall from our nmap2.txt, that port 5985 over here was the Microsoft HTTP API, and this is associated with WinRM, which is the remote management tool, Windows Remote Management. So this is what allows admin level users to log into a system. Okay, so let's go over how to use Evil WinRM. Evil WinRM is installed by default on Kali Linux systems. So this is not exactly it. So Evil WinRM, and then the IP address. Let me grab the IP address one more time. Where is it? Is it this one? Okay. So Evil WinRM -I, and then the IP address, and then it's going to be -u for the username. In this case, it's admin. Let me spell this correctly. Administrator. I think that's correct. Okay, and then we have to do -p, and we provide the password. And in this case, the password is badminton. All right, so this is the command for logging into the WinRM service using the username administrator and the password badminton. Okay, so we log in. And let's see if it lets us log in. And we are now logged in. Okay, so if we ask, who am I? It says we are, so the name of the system is responder, and we are the administrator user. Okay, so that's great. Let's take a look at what directory we're in. So we're in C administrator documents. Okay, so from here, what we're going to do is we're going to try to find the flag.txt file. So let me take a look. So let's take a look at the different users on the system. So along with administrator, we have Mike. And it is actually in this directory right here that we're going to find our flag file. So because we're the administrator user on the system, we don't need to escalate our privileges. We already have full control of the machine. So let's go over to the Mike users directory, and we're going to find this one in the desktop. So we see the flag is in here. What we need to do to read the flag is we can use the type command. So type flag.txt. And so this is the value of the flag. We're going to be using this. In just a minute. But before we finish off this machine, we need to answer all the questions on the Hack the Box webpage. So let's go over to the webpage. And all right, so task 1, question 1, when visiting the web service using the IP address, what is the domain that we are being redirected to? So if you remember, when we first tried to access the web page from our web browser, it brought us to unica.htb. That is the answer. Click on submit. And that is done. All right, next question is, which scripting language is being used on the server to generate web pages? So if you remember which technology is being used to power the website, it is the PHP language. Okay, so this is going to time out. So occasionally you'll find that that Hack the Box is going to stutter like this. You just have to wait it out, and then you're going to have to try again. So to everybody who's following along right now, are you keeping up? And if so, are you learning? Are you having fun going through the box? All right. So PHP, submit the answer again, and that is done. All right. So the next question is, what is the name of the URL parameter which is used to load different language versions of the web page? So if you go over to the web page. So this is the URL parameter right here. It is the page parameter. So that is the answer. It is page. Okay, that question is done. The next question is, which of the following values for the page parameter would be an example of exploiting a local file inclusion LFI vulnerability? Would it be this, or this, or this, or this? Okay, so this right here looks a lot like what we supplied to confirm the local file inclusion vulnerability. So we can copy this and then we can paste this in as the answer. All right, next question is, which of the following values for the page parameter would be an example of exploiting a remote file inclusion RFI vulnerability? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, so in this case, we were pointing the web server at our own IP address with some file in order to exploit remote file inclusion to get the response from the responder tool. So this is the answer right here. Copy that. And paste this in, and that is the answer. Okay, the next question is, what does NTLM stand for? All right, so I looked this up previously, but if anybody in chat knows what the answer to this is, please let us know. NTLM. So this is the name of the hashing method that Windows uses, and I'm pretty sure it's exclusive only to Windows. So in this case, it is going to be new technology. What does the LM stand for? Let me look this up. So it's New Technology LAN Manager. So NTLM stands for New Technology LAN Manager. Linux Girl 1, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having fun. All right, so New Technology LAN Manager, submit this as the answer. And then we're going to move on to the next question. Which flag do we have to use in the responder utility to specify the network interface? So when we ran actually I think we're still running it right now. So inside of responder, right here, we go up to the top. We ran responder with the capital I flag in order to specify the network interface. So the answer is capital I, dash capital I. Okay, so the next question is, there are several tools that take a NetNTLM v2 challenge/response and try millions of passwords to see if any of them generate the same response. One such tool is often referred to as John, but the full name of it is what? So does anybody in chat know what the full name of the John tool is? It's 3 words. and it references a famous serial murderer in London in the 1800s. Linux Girl gets the answer again. It's John the Ripper. And that is the answer. Okay, the next question is, what is the password for the administrator user? So if we go back to responder, actually no, wait, we're not looking at responder. We're looking at, was it up here? When we used John, we found that we cracked the password hash, and we found that badminton was the password. Okay, this is going to time out. We just have to be patient. But welcome to the stream, Linux Girl. Thank you very much for participating and answering questions. Are you from Black Girls Hack or Women's Society for Cyberjitsu? I'm curious to know. Okay, and then we submit the answer for that again. And we're done. Okay. Next question. We'll use a Windows service that is something that is running on the box to remotely access the responder machine using the Shredark. Welcome to the stream, Shredark, and thank you very much for following. All right, so we're going to use a Windows service to remotely access the responder machine using the password we recovered. What port TCP does it listen on? Okay, so this is referencing the WinRM service that we use to log in as the administrator user, and that is functioning on this port right here. It's 5985. Okay, and the last thing we need to do is we need to submit the root flag. So we're going to go over to the terminal, and we read the flag over here, and it is this value right here. So we just need to copy this and then submit this as the root flag. Okay, and this has been, we get the message over here, responder has been pwned, congratulations, and we did a good job, click on OK. All right, so everybody, if you managed to follow along with us and solve the responder box, please type respond to this in chat and add some emojis, some frogs, whatever you like. Okay, so that is done. We have finished. We've finished responder. We're going to do one more box tonight before we call it a day. Linux Girl 1 says, can you explain why did we use responder with ton 0? I'm lost. What was the purpose for it? Okay, so responder is a tool that listens on a network, and what you want to do with the responder is you want to get a Windows machine to contact the machine that is running responder, because when responder gets the response from the machine, it's going to include a bunch of sensitive information such as usernames and password hashes. That's just how Windows machines respond. When they receive an SMB request, they respond with the logged in user's username and as well as their NTLM hash. That's just what it does. And we had to use responder with ton0, the ton0 interface, because we're connected to Hack the Box on our ton0 networking interface. That's the interface we're using to VPN into the Hack the Box network. I hope that answered your question. If not, I'll try to explain again. But we're going to move on to our last box of the night, which this is 3. This is arguably easier than the previous box, but you'll see when while we're solving this. Okay, so we're going to open up the tab over here, and we're going to spawn the machine. So what we need to do is click on the green spawn machine button. No problem, Linux Girl. If you have any other questions, I'll try to explain to the best of my ability. I'll try to answer any of your questions to the best of my ability. But I'm also kind of a student myself, and I'm trying to understand. This is what I understand about the technologies to the best of my knowledge. All right, so what we're doing is we're starting up the server for the 3 challenge over here. 3. Let's take a look at what is involved in this challenge. So it's got these tags: cloud, custom applications, AWS, AWS again, reconnaissance, website structure discovery, bucket enumeration, arbitrary file upload, and anonymous/guest access. So these are some of the fun things we're going to encounter while we're solving this this challenge over here. All right, so we're creating our instance. It should take about a couple of minutes or so. Oh wow, it's come back much faster than I expected. That's great. Okay, so this is the IP address that we've been assigned. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to run our ping command. So we're going to get out of this. We're going to come back to here. So we're not going to be using responder anymore. We can shut it off. We can just use Control-C to exit out of it. And we're going to ping. So we're going to ping this machine just to make sure that we can contact it. And you see here that in the response, it's the time to live value over here is 63. If it's either 63 or 64, then we're probably dealing with the Windows, with the Linux server. So because in the last challenge we determined that the server was running Windows because it responded with a TTL value of 127. Here we see 63, which is indicative of a Linux host. Okay, all right, so let's run our nmap scan against it. So it's nmap. So it's nmap and then -vv for very verbose, and then -p- to scan every port on the server, and then -t4 for very fast but not the fastest, and then we include our IP address. So we're going to run that, and it's going to give us some results immediately. The reason why it's giving us output immediately is because we ran it with very verbose, which is -vv. So we see that port 22 is open as well as port 80. So port 80 means that there is a web server on this machine. So what we can do before anything else is that we can try to access the web page. So from the web browser, I'm going to replace this one over here and access the web page from the web browser. Remember, we're using HTTP instead of HTTPS because this is port 80, and that is associated with the HTTP protocol. So we see on this web page right here that that this seems to be some sort of banned page right here. So we've got a web page. It's talking about some sort of band, which are called the toppers over here. And they have a bunch of information right here. An interesting thing that we can note on this web page is this email address right here. So it's mail@thetoppers.htb. So this is a domain. So anytime we see a domain on a web page, we should probably try to add that domain to our etc host file in order to access the page properly. Sometimes if you don't do that, the web page doesn't render and it doesn't give you everything you want from it. So we're going to add this to our etc host file. So how do we do that? We're going to go back to our terminal and we're going to do sudo nano etc host. So because the host file is a sensitive file that is owned by root, we need to use sudo in order to make adjustments to it. So we're going to run that and provide our password. So we've already included an extra entry for the etc host file over here. We can delete this because we're done with this box. And then we can paste in the IP address, and we're going to use the domain that we found, which is thetoppers.htb. Okay, so now that this is done, we can save the file. All right, so let me take a look at my notes. Okay, so now that we know that there is, now that we know the domain for this particular website, we're going to do some subdomain enumeration. So subdomains are, let me explain what subdomains are. So occasionally inside of a web page, you'll see something like app something something. Actually, I can demonstrate right over here. So on this page right here, hack the box is the domain, and starting -point is the endpoint right over here. But the subdomain for this particular page is app.hackthebox.com. So we can call app a subdomain, and what we can do is we can look for subdomains on this particular server. Okay, so we know that the domain is thetoppers.htb, and we're going to be using the GoBuster tool to enumerate subdomains on this particular server. So it's going to be GoBuster, and this is the GoBuster command we're going to use to enumerate subdomains. So GoBuster is a tool that can be used for directory busting as well as subdomain enumeration, which is what we're doing right here. So we have to use GoBuster in the vhost mode in order to do subdomain enumeration. We also have to provide a word list, and if we're using Kali Linux, it's going to be this one right here, /user/share/seclists discovery DNS subdomains top 1,005,000.txt, and then we need to supply a URL, which is going to be http thetoppers.htb, and we're going to append domain, which means that we're going to stick the subdomain to the front of this domain right here, thetoppers.htb. So this command I'm going to paste into the chat, just in case anybody wants to run the same command. So copy, and then I'll paste it. Okay, so hopefully everybody got that. All right, so I'm going to run GoBuster with these arguments right here, and it's going to look for subdomains on this particular website. Okay, it says starting GoBuster in vhost enumeration mode. You know what? Okay, so we've got port 22 and we've got port 80. I'm not sure if there are other. Let me check my notes to see if there are other. So according to my notes, there are no other ports available on the system. So we can just quit out of this nmap scan, and we can run the scan again. But this time we're going to target port 80 and port 22, and we're also going to enumerate with standard scripts, and we're going to enumerate with the version information for everything that we find over here. So I don't think in this particular challenge we need to nmap again, but it's a good habit to keep. What you want to do is nmap once to find all the open ports, and then nmap again with some additional options to enumerate the ports that you found that were open. Okay, so we're going to go back to the GoBuster command over here. So it says it found this domain right here, s3.thetoppers.htb, and it also found this subdomain right here, gc.something.thetoppers.htb. So I'm going to tell you for a fact that we don't need to pay attention to this. But we do need to pay attention to this. So it's s3.thetoppers.htb. So S3 refers to Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Services are a kind of cloud computing solution. And S3 refers to S3 buckets, which is basically file storage being hosted by Amazon Web Services. So a lot of web apps these days use Amazon Web Services because they don't want to host their own servers. Most companies find it's a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient to just use cloud infrastructure. So a lot of web apps use S3 buckets, which is indicated over here. So what we can do is we can add this to our etc host file as well in order to access this. So what we do is we copy this, and then we're going to edit our etc host file again. So sudo nano etc hosts. So I think what we can do inside of here is we can do a comma. Wait, is it a comma or is it just a space? I think you can just leave a space, and then you can paste in another domain, and this is how you associate two domains with the same IP address. Okay, and then we can save this, and then we can try to access this this subdomain through the web browser. So in the web browser, we go to the Toppers website, and we can do S3. Actually, I copied it. Okay, so it's s3.thetoppers.htb. Okay, so we access this. Whoops. We have to specify HTTP. Okay. So it says status running. Okay, so this right here indicates this is an API endpoint, and this indicates to us that that this is connected to the Amazon Web Services API, which means that we can communicate with it using the Amazon Web Services CLI tool. So this is a set of tools that people use on the CLI in order to interact with the Amazon Web Service accessible API endpoints. Okay, so normally this is not installed on Kali Linux, but we can install it using the following command. Let's go back to our terminal. So we're going to do sudo apt update -y and sudo apt install AWS CLI. So I'm going to copy this command for everybody in chat just in case you need to use it. Okay, hopefully everybody gets this. All right, and then I'm going to run the command. So what this is going to do is it's going to update all the packages on our Kali Linux system, and then after that's done, it's going to install the AWS CLI package over here. So we're going to run this, and it's going to download a bunch of stuff. And it's going to take its sweet time. And it says, after this information, 117 megabytes of additional disk space will be used. Do you want to continue? You can avoid this by tacking on the -y to the end of this second command as well. So we're going to say yes. And it's going to install this package right here. Okay, and it is done. All right. So after we've installed the AWS CLI package, we have to configure the AWS command. So we can do that by doing AWS configure and then run that. It's going to ask us which access key we want to use. We can just type test. AWS access key. So sometimes you need a legitimate key in order to access AWS objects. But in this case, we're just going to give a bunch of nonsense output to the program, and it's still going to work. But in some cases, you have to provide legitimate credentials and other legitimate fields in order to use this kind of infrastructure. But for now, for this case, we don't need to. Okay, so after we've configured everything, the next thing we want to do is we want to determine if we can find anything inside of this Amazon S3 bucket. So the command we're going to use for this is AWS endpoint. Whoops, we're not doing this right now. AWS endpoint equals, and then the URL for this particular S3 bucket, and then it's going to be S3ls. So S3ls is going to let us see what is inside of this S3 bucket. And it basically tells us here that there's nothing, I think there's nothing inside of this S3 bucket. So we don't see anything in here, but what we can do is we can specify the specific S3 API using this command right here, along with ls. So along with ls, we can specify S3 : / and then the domain name over here. So after we run this, we see that there are two files inside of this S3 bucket right here, which is .htaccess and index.php. So index.php could be this. Index.php could be this landing page that we see over here. So this landing page right here could be index.php. So what we can do is we can specify the endpoint as index.php, and then we see that this returns basically the same web page. So this could be the contents of the S3 bucket right here. So what we can do is that we can confirm that this is the S3 bucket right here by uploading a test file to the web server and seeing if it appears. So what we can do is create a test file by doing this, echo, we have upload function, we have file upload functionality, and we're going to redirect that into test.txt. So this is a txt file that we're going to upload to the server, and if we're able to upload it to the server and then access it from the web page, from the website, then we know that we can upload whatever we want up to the website. So we create the file, and then we're going to use the following AWS command to try to upload the file. So we're going to do AWS and then in this portion of the command is going to be CP for copy. So copy test.txt up to S3 the toppers .htb. Okay, so this command is going to attempt to copy this test.txt file to the S3 bucket over here. It looks like it didn't go through. Let me take a look at what's going on over here. Okay, something in this command wasn't correct. Oh, S3, it has to be S3 and then CP. Okay. Let me correct that. Okay, so it has to be S3 CP test.txt, just like this. Let me copy this command and paste it in the chat for anybody who wants to try this. Okay, so we're going to run this command, and then it's going to say upload, okay, this directory test.txt to S3, the toppers.thb / test.txt. So in order to confirm that we were able to upload this to the S3 bucket and that the S3 bucket is the website, we can go back to our web page. And then instead of index.php, we do test.txt. So when we access this, we were able to access the page, and it says we have a file upload functionality, which is what we put inside of the test.txt file. So this proves that we're able to upload whatever file we want up to the Amazon S3 bucket for this website. All right, so what can we do? Well, what we can do is we can upload a web shell to this website, and then we can use the web shell to run commands against the web server. So that's what we're going to do to get remote command execution. So in order to do that, we're going to create a file. We're going to create a PHP web shell file and called webshell.php. And then inside of Nano, we're going to use some fancy PHP commands. So we're going to do okay, I think all we need to do is echo, and then oh, no. We don't echo. So, and we don't use Nano. We're going to get out of here. We're just going to echo out. Echo PHP system, this exact thing right here. And we're going to call it webshell.php. So this is basically a very simple PHP web shell, and if we upload this to the vulnerable web server, we're going to be able to run commands using PHP on the web server in order to finish this exercise. Okay, so we're going to run this command to write this file, and then so this is the entire contents of this file. So it's going to create after we upload it, it's going to create an endpoint on the website called webshell.php, and then we're going to be able to use a URL parameter command, cmd, in order to run commands against the web server. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to use the AWS command over here to copy the web shell up to the S3 bucket. So it's the same command we did to copy the test.txt file, but in this case we're going to upload webshell.php. Okay, so run this command, and it's going to say that it was uploaded to the S3 bucket. So we can confirm this by going back to the web page, and then the endpoint we're going to specify is webshell.php, and then we're going to do a question mark to indicate a URL parameter, and then cmd equals, and then after cmd equals, we're going to give a Linux command, because we know that this web server is running Linux. So we're going to give the whoami command, and the response is www-data, and this is the default user account for web apps, for web servers on the Linux system. Okay, so what can we do with this, and what can you do with this? So basically we can run whatever commands we want on the web app, and it'll act as if we're running the same commands on the web server. So one easy way to finish off this exercise is that we can search for the flag. So we can search for the flag using the web shell, and that command is going to be, we're going to use the find command. So can anybody in chat tell us what kind of find command we can use to look for a file called flag.txt? So if we're looking for flag.txt, what kind of command can we use with find? So first of all, we can use find slash, and slash means the entire file system. And then we can do -name to indicate that we're looking for a file with a specific name. And the specific name of the file is going to be flag.txt. And the last part of the command is that we're going to try to eliminate all of the error messages. And we can do that by sending to /dev/null, which means basically all of the error messages they're not going to appear. So we're going to run this command, and I'll leave this this command in the chat for anybody who wants to try. And it's going to take a little while before we get a response, because it has to run the entire command before it responds to us. Okay. So after we run the find command, it tells us that the flag is located in /var/www. All right, so the last thing we need to do to solve this challenge is to read the flag. So all we need to do inside the web shell is to cat /var/www/flag.txt. And we run that, and this is the value of the flag. All right, so we're just about finished with this challenge. I told you it was a lot easier than the previous challenge responder, and it is. but it taught us a couple of valuable things about interacting with Amazon Web Services, specifically Amazon Web Service S3 buckets. We were able to use AWS commands to interact with the AWS S3 bucket. We were able to list the contents of the bucket. We were able to upload stuff to the bucket, and in uploading stuff to the bucket, we were able to upload malicious files to the S3 bucket, which we use to get remote command execution on the server. All right, so before we finish, let's answer all the questions associated with this challenge. So over in task 1, question 1, how many TCP ports are open? Okay, so if you remember, there were 2 ports open. There's port 80 and port 22. So this is the answer. The next question is, what is the domain of the email address provided in the contact section of the website? So we're looking for the domain. Remember on the Topper's website over here. Oh, well, we don't want to get rid of this, so we're just going to go back. Remember that the domain for this website was the toppers.htb. Submit the answer. Okay, task 3, question 3. In the absence of a DNS server, which Linux file can we use to resolve host names to IP addresses in order to be able to access the websites that point to those host names? Okay, so remember that during these 2 exercises, we edited a specific file in order to resolve host names or domain names to specific IP addresses. Does anybody know what file that was? The answer is /etc/hosts. So this was the file that we were editing in order to resolve domains to specific IP addresses. So that's the answer. Okay, the next question is, which subdomain is discovered during further enumeration? So we use the GoBuster tool in order to enumerate subdomains using the vhost option. And we're able to find this subdomain right here, s3.thetoppers.htb. Okay, so this is going to time out. We just need to wait a little bit before we can resubmit the answer. So everybody, are you all having fun on our Hack the Box journey over here? If you're having fun, give us some emotes in chat. I love to see smiley faces. I like to see frogs. I like to see people having fun. And if you're not having fun, tell me you're not having fun, and we'll try to entertain you in some way. Okay, network error. Let's resubmit the answer. All right. So which service is running on the discovered subdomain? Okay, so it says something 3. So we can just imagine that this says Amazon S3, as in the Amazon S3 bucket. So it's going to be Amazon S3. Okay, so everybody, if you want a preview of next week, what we're going to do is we're going to try to run through the tier 2, the starting point tier 2 archetype box, and the archetype box is a lot more difficult than the challenges that we did today. So archetype is an example of what Hack the Box considers to be easy, and which means it's not easy, and it's going to take a long time. We're only going to be able to have time to solve just that challenge next week. Okay, so the next question is, which command line utility can be used to interact with the service running on the discovered subdomain? Command line utility. So the utility we use to interact with the S3 bucket is AWS CLI. This is the command line utility. So that is the answer. Question 7, which command is used to set up the AWS CLI installation? So this is what we needed to do before we could run other AWS commands. We needed to run AWS configure just a second. So to anybody else who's using Hack the Box, let me know if your answers are occasionally being timed out like this, just like mine are. If you are experiencing the same kind of difficulties, let me know in chat. I'd like to know if I'm alone in experiencing these kind of difficulties or not. What is the command used by the above utility to list all of the S3 buckets? Okay, so we listed all the S3 buckets using AWS ls S3. So this is the command to list all the contents of the S3 buckets. Actually, no, this lists the different buckets is what it does. Submit that as the answer. That is the incorrect flag. Let me take a look at my answers over here just to make sure. Oh, it's the wrong order. Okay, so it's going to be AWS S3ls to list out all the buckets. Okay, task 9. This server is configured to run files written in what web scripting language? So this is the same kind of question we got in the previous challenge. What kind of language is being used to run this server? It's the PHP engine over here. So submit that as the answer. And the final question over here is to submit the root flag. So over here we have a flag that we found using our web shell, and it is this right here. We're going to copy that. Remember, it's located in the /var/www/flag.txt file over here. And let's go back and submit that as the root flag. And we are done. Okay, it says here that 3 has been pwned. Congratulations. And we're done, everybody. Okay, it says congratulations, you've pwned all the free tier 1 machines. Progress through other tiers to develop your hacking knowledge. And we're just going to close this window. Thank you very much, Hack the Box. All right, so everybody, if you managed to finish either one or both of the challenges in tonight's challenges, please type I pwned the machines in chat. All right, so that's all we have for tonight. Before we finish off, I'd like to point out to everybody that we are HackerFrogs, and we're all about teaching beginners cybersecurity skills to anybody who wants to learn. We have a Reddit page, which is located at this link right here. And the HackerFrogs community is all about introducing regular people to beginner level cybersecurity, with an emphasis on hands-on learning and explaining concepts in an easy to understand way. So we have a lot of great threads going on the HackerFrogs Reddit page. For example, we have our streaming schedule. So each week we publish a schedule about what live streams are happening that week, and we also have a bunch of threads about interesting and free educational resources for a bunch of different topics. For example, if you wanted to learn about general computer skills and networking education, We have a thread inside of HackerFrogs that talks about just about that. So if you were to take a look at this thread right here, we've got a bunch of links in case you wanted to learn about general computer and IT knowledge. We have Professor Messer's A+ certification playlist on YouTube, and we have the Computer Hardware Basics course over at Skills for All. As well, if you wanted to learn about computer networking, we have the Networking Basics and Networking Address and Basic Troubleshooting courses over at Skills for All. We have a Hack the Box Academy course right here, which is called Introduction to Networking, as well as Professor Messer's Network Plus certification playlist on YouTube. As well, if you wanted to learn about other topics like Linux education, you have to learn Linux if you want to get into cybersecurity. We have a bunch of links for free Linux education resources, as well as Python resources over here. Python resources over where? Okay. Hold on. I could have sworn I'm going to search for this. Python. Okay. Also, we've got a HackerFrogs Python programming workshop. We have a series of workshops teaching new students Python, the programming language. The information about this particular course is located over on this thread right here. We're going to be running that on Mondays as well as Wednesdays. Starting next week, we're going to be going from once a week to twice a week. And I hope anybody who wants to learn about Python is able to join us over there. We try to keep the lessons very beginner friendly. We try to go for about an hour for each session. So everybody who wants to learn about Python, please look into the link over there. As well, we have the HackerFrogs, all of the HackerFrogs previous live streams over at the Shy Hat channel, which is my channel, and I'll provide the link for that. The link is over here, and you can catch all of our previous live streams at this particular link. So if you missed any of the previous HackerFrogs live streams, you can catch them all over here. I also have some shorts featuring my favorite birds in the world, which are these stellar jays right here. If you don't know what a stellar jay is, you're missing out. They're related to blue jays, but they're basically West Coast blue jays, as opposed to the East Coast, where you have the more commonly known blue jays. If you ever want to take a look at the cutest thing ever, you can look at stellar jays babies or fledglings. So these are stellar jay babies right here, and these are just about the cutest birds you'll ever see. Okay, but enough about my obsession with stellar jay's birds. You can also find all of our previously published videos over here. I am currently going through a series about covering challenges from the PicoCTF web games. So basically, each one of these is going to be a different beginner-friendly challenge, and we try to cover how to solve these challenges. And while we're solving the challenges, we try to explain all the different commands that we use to solve the challenges. There are a lot of videos published at this point on this in this particular series. I think there is something close to 40 videos, and if you go over to the YouTube page, let me provide the link. You can go and check them all out. But thank you very much to everybody for coming to tonight's stream, and we're going to be back on Monday, where we're going to be continuing on with our Python Python education workshops. And remember, we're going to be moving from once a week to twice a week. We're going to be doing our Python course on both Mondays and Wednesdays starting next week. But thank you very much to everybody who came by to the stream today. I hope you learned a lot with Hack the Box. If you missed any of the stream, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and check it out. But it's Friday night, and I'm probably going to get some great relaxing time done before I go to sleep. I hope everybody who came by today can also do the same. Let's see if there's any if there are any InfoSec people streaming right now. We might be able to send some viewers their way. Okay, so Hack Smarter is on. Let's send some love their way. To anybody who is in Twitch chat, I would very much appreciate if you join us in rating Hack Smarter, which is another InfoSec cybersecurity channel on Twitch. Please, when you enter their channel from the raid, please say that the shy hat is a hacker frog, or just say we are HackerFrogs when you arrive in the chat. Thank you very much. We're going to be rating them in just a minute. Everybody, please participate in the raid to show some appreciation for other content creators inside the cybersecurity space. But to everybody else, thank you and good night.